Tonight, you drift into a quiet village along the Nile, where the air hums with the promise of dawn and the gentle pulse of ancient life. You stand in a mud brick kitchen, its walls warm from yesterday's sun, as the first whispers of light slip through a reed curtain. The world is still, save for the soft lap of the river outside and the faint coo of a dove nesting in the acacia tree. You breathe deeply, letting the cool, damp scent of the Nile fill your lungs, grounding you in this sacred moment. Your hands rest on a smooth limestone table, worn by generations, and before you was a mound of emmer wheat flour, coarse and golden, ready to become the day's bread. This is no ordinary task. In this new kingdom village of Deir el-Medina, circa 300 BCE, every need is a prayer, every loaf a charm against the shadows. You are not just a baker, but a weaver of magic. Your kitchen a sanctuary where the gods linger, waiting to bless your work. Now, keep a deep breath and let the mist of the morning guide your hands into the dough. You scoop a handful of flour, feeling its gritty warmth between your fingers, and sprinkle it across the table, a soft cloud catching the dawn's faint glow. The flour comes from fields just beyond the village, where farmers sang to Hapi, the river god, as they harvested the grain under the watchful eye of the pharaoh's scribes. You smile, imagining their chatter about the latest festival for Amun, their voices as lively as the sparrows overhead in Deir el-Medina, home to artisans who carve tombs for kings. Bread is more than food, it's a pact with the divine, a gift to sustain both body and soul. You pour water from a clay jug, its surface etched with lotus flowers, and the liquid glints like liquid starlight as it meets the flour. The water is fresh from the Nile, drawn at twilight when the river's magic is strongest, believed to carry the blessings of Isis. You mix gently, your fingers coaxing the dough into a soft, pliant mound, and you feel the rhythm of the earth itself in your movements, steady and eternal. As you knead, you whisper a spell, your voice barely louder than the rustle of palm fronds outside. O Bastet, guardian of the hearth, let this bread shield my home from chaos. You murmur, your words echoing a chant passed down from your mother, who learned it from hers, in this village where every household honors the gods. Such spells are as common as the scent of baking bread. Archaeologists have found clay tablets in Deir el-Medina listing offerings to Bastet, the cat goddess, her image carved into kitchen walls to ward off misfortune. You press your palms into the dough, folding and turning, and the act feels like a dance, each motion weaving protection into the grain. The dough yields under your touch, warm and alive, as if it knows the sacred task it will fulfill. You chuckle softly, thinking even the gods must pause to savor the scent of fresh bread, their divine noses twitching in the morning mist. The kitchen around you is a tapestry of quiet life. A small oil lamp flickers on a shelf, its flame casting shadows that dance across baskets of onions and dried figs. A reed mat lies in the corner where your children will soon wake, their laughter filling the air like music. You glance at a tiny amulet hanging above the doorway, a turquoise scarab, its wings etched with the eye of Horus, a gift from your neighbor, a sculptor who carves spells into royal tombs in Deir el-Medina. Such charms are woven into daily life, each one a thread in the village's spiritual fabric. You knead faster now, your hands finding a rhythm as old as the pyramids, and you imagine the dough absorbing your hopes for a bountiful harvest, for your family's health, for the God's favor. The emmer wheat, ground by hand on a stone quern you inherited from your grandmother, carries the memory of countless mornings like this, each one a quiet offering to the eternal. You pause to sprinkle a pinch of salt into the dough, a ritual as vital as the spell itself. Salt, traded from the distant oases of the western desert, is a treasure in your kitchen, believed to purify and protect. You recall the market trader who sold it to you, his eyes crinkling as he joked about outsmarting a sandstorm to bring it here. His tales, like your spells, are part of the village's heartbeat, binding you all in shared stories. The dough is nearly ready, smooth and elastic, and you shape it into a round loaf, your fingers tracing a faint spiral on its surface, a symbol of the sun's journey, a nod to Ra, who will soon rise over the horizon in the new kingdom. Bakers often marked loaves with such signs, as excavations of DEIR el-Medina's ovens reveal, their patterns a silent prayer for light and warmth. You cover the loaf with a linen cloth, its fibers soft as a whisper, and set it to rest near the hearth, where the embers from last night's fire still glow faintly. The air grows lighter now, the mist lifting as the first rays of sunlight slip into the kitchen, painting the walls with gold. You step to the doorway, your bare feet cool against the packed earth floor, and gaze at the Nile, its surface shimmering like a mirror for the gods. The village is waking, distant voices call to children, a donkey brays, and the scent of other hearths drifts on the breeze. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your loaf will join the day's offerings, perhaps shared with neighbors or placed before a small statue of Hathor in your courtyard. The bread is more than sustenance, it's a bridge to the divine, a charm against the unseen forces that linger in the desert's shadows. You breathe deeply, the scent of dough and river mingling in your chest, and feel the sacred pulse of this moment, tying you to the countless hands that have kneaded before you. As you return to the table, you notice a stray grain of wheat on the floor, glinting like a tiny star. You pick it up, smiling at the thought that even the smallest things carry meaning here. In DEIR el-Medina, nothing is wasted, not grain, not time, not prayers. You tuck the grain into a small clay pot, an offering for later, and let your hands rest, the dough now rising in its quiet corner. The morning is young, but your work has begun a chain of rituals that will unfold through the day, each act building toward a meal that binds your family, your village, and the gods. You feel the weight of this truth, soft and warm like the dough itself, and know that in this kitchen, magic is as real as the bread you bake. The Nile whispers its approval, and you are ready for what comes next. Continuing the cohesive narrative for bread, beer, and magic, the enchanted kitchens of ancient Egypt. I'll expand Section 2 Barley's Starlet Song into a 1 200, 500 word narrative. This section builds directly on Section 1, where you kneaded dough infused with protective spells in your DEIR el-Medina kitchen at dawn. Now, as night falls, you stir a vat of barley beer under the stars, chanting to Hathor to bless the brew with joy and protection. Advancing the story of preparing a sacred meal, the script maintains the soothing, poetic tone, weaving historical context. New Kingdom brewing practices, DEIR el-Medina's communal life, vivid imagery, starlight, bubbling vats, and gentle humor to create a calming bedtime story. It avoids repetition, grounds mystical elements in cultural reality, and ensures continuity with the broader narrative of enchanting your kitchen's offerings. Section 2, Barley's Starlit Song. The sun has long vanished beyond the cliffs of Deir el-Medina, and your mud brick kitchen now rests in the tender embrace of night. You stand in the open courtyard, where the air is cool and fragrant with the scent of desert blooms, their petals curling under a sky strewn with stars. The Nile hums softly in the distance, its rhythm a quiet lullaby, while above, the constellation of Sopdet gleams, signaling the season's turn. Your hands, still dusted with flour from the morning's knead, now hover over a wide clay vat, its surface alive with the gentle bubble of fermenting barley. The loaf you shaped at dawn rests by the hearth, rising in its quiet slumber. But tonight, your task is to craft beer, the lifeblood of your village, a drink as sacred as bread, in this new kingdom hamlet, where artisans carve eternity into royal tombs. Beer is no mere refreshment, it's a gift to Hathor, goddess of joy, whose laughter you seek to weave into every sip. You breathe deeply, letting the starry night settle into your bones, and begin to stir, your wooden paddle dipping into the brew like a prayer. The barley, harvested from fields kissed by the Nile's flood, is coarse and golden, its grains soaked and mashed with care before you poured them into this vat. You recall the women who helped you prepare it yesterday, their hands swift as they ground the grain on querns, their chatter filled with tales of Hathor's festivals, where dancers twirl under torchlight. In Deir el-Medina, brewing is a communal art, as archaeologists have uncovered in the village's remains clay vats and strainers tucked into courtyards. Proof of beer's daily role. You stir slowly, the liquid swirling with a soft gurgle, its surface catching the starlight like a mirror for the heavens. The brew is alive, fermenting with wild yeast that drifts on the desert breeze, a natural magic the Egyptians trusted to transform grain into liquid warmth. You smile, thinking even Hathor must pause to savor this scent, her divine heart stirred by the village's humble craft. You begin to chant, your voice low and melodic, blending with the night's gentle sounds, a cricket's chirp, the rustle of palm fronds. O Hathor, lady of the sycamore, let this beer bring joy to my kin, let it shield us from sorrow. You sing, the words rising like incense. This spell, taught by your aunt during a long ago harvest, is one of many recorded on papyrus from the New Kingdom, where beer was offered to gods to ensure prosperity. You stir in time with the chant, your paddle tracing circles that mimic the moon's arc, and the brew seems to respond, its bubbles dancing faster, as if Hathor herself leans close, her golden eyes twinkling. The act feels ancient, tying you to the women who brewed in this very courtyard centuries ago, their voices echoing in yours. You chuckle softly, imagining the goddess sneaking a sip when no one's looking, her laughter bubbling like the vat before you. The courtyard is a quiet sanctuary, lit only by a small oil lamp on a stone ledge, its flame casting shadows that sway like temple dancers. Nearby, a basket holds dried dates and a few sprigs of mint, their scent mingling with the earthy aroma of the brew. Your children sleep inside, their dreams guarded by the scarab amulet above the door, the same one you glanced at this morning in Deir el-Medina. Beer is a daily ritual served to workers building pharaohs' tombs, its nourishment as vital as the spells that protect their souls. You dip a finger into the vat, tasting the tangy warmth, and nod it's nearly ready. But the magic needs one final touch. You reach for a small clay jar, its surface painted with Hathor's cow horns, and sprinkle in a pinch of crushed dates, a sweet offering to deepen the brew's joy. Excavations reveal such additives were common, sweetening beer to honor the gods and delight the heart. You pause to gaze at the stars. Their light a tapestry of stories: Osiris, Isis, the eternal dance of creation. The night feels alive, as if the gods are watching, their presence woven into the breeze that brushes your skin. You stir again, your chant growing softer, and imagine the beer's journey tomorrow. It will fill cups at a neighbor's table, its magic shared in laughter and song. In this village, every household brews, each recipe a secret passed through generations, as vital as the hieroglyphs carved in the Valley of the Kings. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your brew will join the day's offerings, perhaps poured before Hathor's statue in the village shrine, its golden liquid catching the sunrise. The vat hums under your touch, and you sense the goddess's approval, her warmth wrapping around you like a shawl. The air grows cooler now, the stars brighter, and you cover the vat with a linen cloth, its edges frayed from years of use. You step back, your hands resting on the stone wall, still warm from the day's heat, and listen to the village's night sounds: a dog's bark, a mother's lullaby, the Nile's endless song. The brew will ferment through the night, its magic deepening as the stars wheel overhead. You feel the weight of this moment, as sacred as the morning's need. Each task a thread in the tapestry of your kitchen's enchantments. The beer is more than a drink. It's a vessel of joy, a charm against the desert's shadows, a promise that Hathor's light will touch every heart it reaches. You breathe deeply, the scent of barley and stars filling your chest, and know that your work tonight has bound you to the eternal. As you turn to enter the kitchen, a falling star streaks across the sky, its light fleeting but bright, like a whisper from Hathor herself. You smile, tucking the moment into your heart, and feel the village's pulse beneath your feet, steady and alive. The beer rests now, its bubbles singing their own quiet song, and you are ready for the next task: grinding spices to season the meal that will unite your community. The night is young, but your courtyard is a sacred space where every stir, every chant weaves magic into the ordinary. You carry this truth, soft and warm like the brew itself, and step into the shadows, guided by the stars and the goddess's gentle laughter, continuing the cohesive narrative for bread, beer, and magic, the enchanted kitchens of ancient Egypt. I'll expand Section 3 Saffron's sacred grind into a 500 word narrative. This section builds on the previous ones, where you kneaded dough at dawn, Section 1, and brewed beer under the stars. Section 2 in your DEIR El-MEDINA kitchen during the New Kingdom, circa 1300 BCE. Now, in the late morning, you grind saffron and cumin in a mortar, each pinch a prayer to weave a protective shield around your family. Advancing the story of preparing a sacred meal, the script maintains the soothing, poetic tone, incorporating historical context, Gigi, spice use, DEIR El-MEDINA's domestic practices, vivid imagery, sunlit kitchen, spice dust, and gentle humor. It ensures continuity, avoids repetition, grounds mystical elements in cultural reality, and addresses the original document's weaknesses by providing specific details, minimizing dramatization, and enhancing factual depth. Section 3 Saffron's sacred grind, the stars have faded, and the late morning sun bathes your dear El-Medina kitchen in a golden glow, its rays slipping through the reed curtain to dance on the mud brick walls. You stand at your limestone table, the same one where you kneaded dough at dawn, now warmed by the day's light. The loaf rests by the hearth, its spiral marked surface rising slowly, while the beer you brewed under Hathor's gaze bubbles quietly in the courtyard vat. The air carries the scent of baked earth and the Nile's faint musk, mingling with the chatter of neighbors and the clatter of a distant potter's wheel. Your hands, still faintly dusted with flour, now cradle a stone mortar, its surface smoothed by years of use. Before you lie small piles of saffron threads, their crimson glow like captured sunset, and cumin seeds, earthy and sharp, in this new kingdom village, where every artisan's home is a temple of daily rituals. Grinding spices is no mere chore, it's a sacred act. Each crush a prayer to shield your family from the unseen. You breathe deeply, letting the sun's warmth settle into your chest, and begin to grind, your pestle moving in a rhythm as old as the river itself. The saffron, traded from far off Crete through bustling ports like Memphis, is a treasure in your kitchen, its delicate threads worth more than the silver rings your husband crafts for tomb overseers. You recall the trader's grin at last week's market, his tales of sea voyages making your children giggle as he handed you the tiny bundle wrapped in linen. In DEIR El-MEDINA, spices are rare gifts, as archaeological finds of spice jars in village homes attest, used not just for flavor, but for magic. You pinch a few saffron threads, their fragrance blooming like a desert flower, and drop them into the mortar. The pestle grinds smoothly, releasing a soft cloud of golden dust that catches the sunlight, and you feel the spice's warmth as if it carries the sun god Ra's own blessing. Your movements are deliberate, each turn of the pestle a silent vow to protect your household, your daughter, who weaves reeds by the door, your son, who dreams of carving Pharaoh's names, your husband, now chiseling in the valley of the kings. You whisper a prayer, your voice soft as the breeze that stirs the acacia tree outside. O Sekhmet, lioness of strength, let these spices guard my kin from harm. You murmur, the words a chant your grandmother taught you, her hands guiding yours over this very mortar. Sekhmet, the fierce goddess of healing, is honored in DEIR El-Medina's homes, her image etched on amulets to ward off illness. Excavations reveal such prayers were common, scribbled on ostraca pottery shards by villagers seeking divine protection. You grind the saffron finer, its dust mingling with the cumin, and the scents weave together, sharp and sweet, like a song of earth and sky. You chuckle quietly, thinking even Sekhmet might soften at the aroma, her fiery gaze warmed by your kitchen's humble offering. The act feels alive, as if the spices know their purpose, their essence blending with your intent to create a shield of light around your home. The kitchen hums with the morning's gentle pulse. A clay jar of lentils sits on a shelf, its surface painted with lotus blossoms, waiting for the meal you're crafting. The scarab amulet above the doorway glints in the sunlight, its turquoise wings a constant guardian, just as it watched over your dawn need and starlit brew. You add cumin to the mortar, its seeds popping under the pestle's weight, and the scent grounds you, tethering you to countless mornings when your mother ground spices here, her laughter filling the air in the new kingdom. Cumin was prized for its protective powers, often sprinkled into food to repel malevolent spirits, a practice noted in medical papyri like the Eber's papyrus. You grind faster now, your rhythm matching the distant beat of a drum from a neighbor's festival. And imagine the spices magic spreading through your kitchen, your home, the village, a quiet ward against the desert's unseen shadows. You pause to brush a stray saffron thread from your fingers, its glow lingering like a tiny ember. The mortar is full now, the spices blended into a fine powder, their colors swirling like a sunset over the Nile. You scoop the mixture into a small clay bowl, its rim etched with an ankh, the symbol of life, and set it beside the rising loaf. The spices will season the lentils you'll cook later, their magic joining the bread and beer in the sacred meal you're preparing for tonight's rooftop feast. You step to the doorway, your bare feet cool against the earth floor, and gaze at the village children chase a reed ball. Artisans carry tools to the tombs, and the Nile sparkles under Ra's watchful eye. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your spices will flavor not just food, but the bonds of your community. Each pinch a thread in DEIR el-Medina's spiritual tapestry. The sun climbs higher, warming the courtyard where your beer vat rests, its linen cover fluttering in the breeze. You return to the table, your hands resting on the mortar, and listen to the village's heartbeat, a woman's song, a donkey's bray, the Nile's endless whisper. The spice's scent lingers in the air, a promise of protection as real as the stone beneath your feet. You imagine the meal taking shape, the loaf, golden and warm, the beer, bubbling with Hathor's joy, the lentils, spiced with Sekhmet's strength. Each task builds toward tonight, when your family and neighbors will gather under the stars, their laughter a prayer of its own. You breathe deeply, the scent of saffron and cumin filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the women who ground spices before you, their hands guiding yours across time. As you cover the bowl with a cloth, a sparrow lands on the windowsill, its tiny eyes bright with curiosity. You smile, thinking it's a messenger from Sekhmet, come to approve your work. The village is alive now, the morning's quiet, giving way to the hum of daily life. But your kitchen remains a sanctuary, where every grind, every prayer weaves magic into the ordinary. The spices rest, their power sealed in clay, and you are ready for the next task, offering your bread to the gods. A step closer to the meal that will bind your community to the divine. You carry this truth, soft and warm, like the sunlight itself, and step into the day, guided by the Nile's gentle song and Sekhmet's fierce, loving gaze. The late morning sun climbs high over DEIR el-Medina, its light flooding your courtyard with a warmth that feels like a gentle embrace from Ra himself. You step from the kitchen, where the scent of saffron and cumin still lingers, into the open air, your bare feet brushing the packed earth. Cool beneath the day's heat, the loaf you kneaded at dawn now sits by the hearth, baked to a golden glow, its spiral mark crisp and proud, while the beer bubbles in its vat, and the spiced powder rests in its clay bowl. The Nile hums beyond the village, its song mingling with the laughter of children and the rhythmic tap of a mason's chisel in your hands. You carry a reed mat, woven by your daughter, and on it, a warm loaf and a small jar of honey, its amber surface gleaming like liquid sunlight. You approach a modest altar in the courtyard's corner, a low stone table etched with an ankh, shaded by a sycamore tree in this new kingdom village, where every home honors the gods. This offering is no mere gesture, it's a sacred invitation to Anubis, the jackal headed guardian, to taste your gifts and shield your family from the shadows. You breathe deeply, letting the courtyard's warmth fill your chest, and begin to arrange the mat. Your movements a quiet prayer. The loaf, still warm from the oven, releases a faint steam as you place it on the mat, its crust crackling softly under your touch. You baked it in the clay oven outside, its dome blackened from years of use, a common sight in DEIR el-Medina's homes, as archaeologists have uncovered in village excavations. The emmer wheat, ground with your grandmother's quern, carries the morning's spell to Bastet, woven into every grain. You smile, recalling your son's eager hands helping you stoke the fire, his eyes wide as he asked if the gods truly eat bread in this village of artisans, where tombs are carved for pharaohs. Offerings are a daily ritual, binding the living to the divine. You drizzle honey from the jar, its golden threads pooling around the loaf, and the sweet scent rises, mingling with the sycamore's earthy breath. The honey, harvested from apiaries near the Nile's banks, is a treasure, traded for a basket of your husband's carved beads. You feel its stickiness on your fingers, a reminder of the earth's quiet gifts. You kneel before the altar, your voice soft as the breeze that stirs the sycamore's leaves. O Anubis, watcher of the threshold, taste this bread and honey. Guard my home from chaos. You whisper the words a chant your mother sang at this very altar. Anubis, revered in Deir el-Medina for his role as protector of the dead, is also a guardian of the living, his image painted on household shrines, as found in the village's remains. You imagine his jackal eyes, sharp yet kind, peering from the unseen, and chuckle softly, thinking even a god must savor honey's sweetness. His divine tail wagging just a little, the offering feels alive. The loaf and honey a bridge to the divine, their warmth carrying your hopes for your daughter's health, your son's dreams, your husband's safe return from the tombs. You place a small clay figurine of Anubis, its black glaze glinting, beside the mat, a gift from a neighbor who sculpts for the pharaoh's necropolis. The courtyard is a sanctuary of light and sound. A sparrow flits through the sycamore, its wings a soft flutter, while a basket of mint and dates rests near the beer vat, waiting for tonight's feast. The turquoise scarab amulet above the kitchen door catches the sun, its presence a constant thread through your day's rituals. From the dawn, need, to the starlit brew, in the new kingdom, offerings like yours were vital. As papyrus records describe villagers placing food on altars to seek divine favor, you add a sprig of mint to the mat, its sharp scent a final touch, believed to please Anubis and purify the air, a practice noted in temple texts. The act feels like a conversation, your gifts a plea and a promise, tying your family to the god's eternal watch. You glance at the Nile, its surface sparkling under the noon sun, and feel the village's pulse artisans calling, children singing, the river's endless song. You rise, brushing crumbs from your linen dress, and step back to admire the altar. The loaf glows in the sunlight, the honey shimmers, and the mint's green leaves seem to hum with life. You imagine Anubis leaning close, his breath stirring the air, accepting your offering with a nod. The thought warms you, as if the god's protection already wraps your home, a shield as real as the stone beneath your feet. You recall a festival last month, when the village shared bread and beer before Anubis's shrine. The priest's chants echoing under the stars. Tonight's feast, with your spiced lentils, golden loaf, and Hathor blessed beer, will carry this same spirit, binding your neighbors in joy and faith. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your offering is a step toward that moment. A thread in DEIR el-Medina's sacred tapestry. The sun nears its peak, and the courtyard grows warmer, the sycamore's shade a welcome respite. You listen to the village's heartbeat, a woman's laugh, a donkey's bray, the distant clink of tools. The altar rests in stillness, its gifts glowing like a small sun. And you sense Anubis's presence, steady and watchful. The offering is complete, but your work continues soon. You'll shape jars to hold the meal, each one a vessel for the magic you've woven today. You breathe deeply, the scent of honey and mint filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the countless hands that have offered before you. A butterfly lands on the altar, its wings a flicker of blue, and you smile, thinking it's a sign from Anubis, a whisper of thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you are ready for the next task, guided by the gods and the village's eternal light. The early afternoon sun bathes your DEIR el-Medina courtyard in a golden haze, its warmth sinking into the packed earth beneath your feet. You sit cross-legged on a reed mat, the same one that held your offering to Anubis at noon, now spread beside the sycamore tree's dappled shade. The loaf you baked rests in the kitchen, its golden crust cooling, while the beer bubbles in its vat. The spices sit in their clay bowl, and the altar's honey jar glints faintly in the sunlight. The Nile's soft hum weaves through the village, blending with the chatter of artisans and the distant bleat of a goat. Before you lies a mound of soft, red clay, dug from the riverbank and smoothed with Nile water, its surface cool and pliant. Your hands, still scented with mint from the morning's offering, hover over the clay, ready to shape jars that will hold your enchanted meal bread. Lentils, beer for tonight's rooftop feast. In this new kingdom village, where every home crafts its own vessels, pottery is no mere task, it's a prayer for abundance. Each jar a vessel for hope and the gods' favor. You breathe deeply, letting the sun's glow fill your chest, and press your fingers into the clay. Your touch a quiet hymn. The clay yields under your hands, soft as a child's cheek, and you begin to shape it, your fingers coaxing the mound into a smooth, rounded form. You recall your mother teaching you this art, her laughter bright as she guided your small hands, telling tales of Nun, the primordial waters from which all life rose. In DEIR el-Medina, pottery is a cornerstone of daily life, as archaeologists have found the thousands of jars, bowls, and cups unearthed in village homes, some painted with lotus flowers, others plain but sturdy. These jars will hold the lentils spiced with Sekhmet's strength, the beer blessed by Hathor, and the bread offered to Anubis, carrying your magic to the feast. You spin the clay on a flat stone, its rhythm steady as the Nile's flow, and feel the earth's pulse in your movements. Ancient and alive, the sun warms your shoulders, and you smile, thinking even the gods must admire a well-made jar, their divine hands itching to hold one. You hum a soft chant, your voice blending with the breeze that rustles the sycamore's leaves. O Khnum, shaper of souls, let these jars cradle my family's dreams. You murmur, the words a prayer your father sang while crafting pots for the pharaoh's tomb workers. Khnum, the ram-headed god who molds life on his potter's wheel, is revered in Deir el-Medina, his image carved on household shrines. As found in village excavations, you imagine his steady gaze, his hands guiding yours, and chuckle quietly, picturing Khnum pausing to inspect your work, his divine nod a seal of approval. The clay takes shape, its walls rising smooth and even, and you etch a faint ankh, the symbol of life, into its surface, a charm to ensure the jar's contents bring prosperity. The act feels sacred, each turn of the clay weaving your hopes for a bountiful harvest, for your children's laughter, for the village's peace into its form. The courtyard hums with the afternoon's gentle rhythm. A clay lamp flickers on the altar, its flame small but steady, while the beer vat's linen cover flutters nearby. The turquoise scarab amulet above the kitchen door catches the sun, its presence a thread through your day's rituals, from the dawn need to the noon offering in the new kingdom. Jars like yours were vital, as papyrus records describe villagers storing food in pottery sealed with spells to ward off spoilage, a practice rooted in both practicality and faith. You shape a second jar, smaller, for the lentils, and press a lotus pattern into its rim, its curves a nod to Isis, goddess of renewal. The clay's coolness grounds you, tethering you to the women who shaped jars here before you, their hands leaving faint marks in the earth. You glance at the Nile, its surface shimmering like a mirror for the gods, and feel the village's heartbeat, children playing, artisans carving, the river's endless song. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, the clay's earthy scent clinging to your fingers. The first jar is complete, its walls sturdy, its ankh glowing faintly in the sunlight. You set it to dry beside the sycamore, where the shade will keep it cool, and begin another, your hands moving faster now, guided by muscle memory. You recall a festival last season when the village shared beer from jars like these, their surfaces painted with stars, the priest's chants echoing under the night sky. Tonight's feast will carry that same spirit, your jars holding the meal that binds your neighbors in joy and faith. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your work is a step toward that moment, a thread in Deir el-Medina's sacred tapestry. The clay's softness is a comfort, as if the earth itself whispers back, promising abundance. The sun dips slightly, casting longer shadows across the courtyard, and you finish the second jar, its lotus rim delicate but strong. You place it beside the first, their forms glowing like small suns, and brush clay from your hands, the dust falling like tiny stars. The village is alive now, the afternoon's hum rising, women weaving, men returning from the tombs, a child's giggle nearby. The jars rest, their purpose sealed in earth, and you sense Khnum's presence, steady and warm, approving your craft. The offering to Anubis, the spice's protective magic, the beer's joyful chant, all lead to this, vessels that will carry your meal to the feast. You breathe deeply, the scent of clay and sycamore filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the countless hands that have shaped before you. A dragonfly hovers near the jars, its wings a flicker of blue, and you smile, thinking it's a sign from Khnum, a whisper of thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you are ready for the next task, guided by the gods and the village's eternal light, continuing the cohesive narrative for bread, beer, and magic the enchanted kitchens of ancient Egypt. I'll expand Section 6 Steam of Whispered Tales into a 1 200 to 1 500 word narrative. This section builds on the previous ones, where you kneaded dough at dawn, Section 1, brewed beer under the stars. Section 2, ground spices in the late morning, Section 3, offered bread and honey to Anubis at noon, Section 4, and shaped clay jars in the early afternoon, Section 5, in your DEIR El-Medina kitchen during the New Kingdom, circa 1300 BCE. Now, in the late afternoon, you stir a pot of lentils over a crackling fire, your stories blending with spells to cradle your children in divine safety, advancing the story of preparing a sacred communal feast. The script maintains the soothing, poetic tone, incorporating historical context. A. Java G. Lentil use. Storytelling in Deir el-Medina, vivid imagery, steaming pot, firelight, and gentle humor. It ensures continuity, avoids repetition, grounds mystical elements in cultural reality, and addresses the original document's weaknesses by providing specific details, minimizing dramatization, and enhancing factual depth. Section 6. Steam of Whispered Tales. The late afternoon sun dips low over Deir el-Medina, casting long shadows that stretch across your courtyard like gentle fingers of dusk. You stand in your mud brick kitchen, the air warm with the scent of baked earth and the faint sweetness of honey from your noon offering to Anubis. The loaf you kneaded at dawn rests on a reed mat, its golden crust a quiet promise, while the beer bubbles in its courtyard vat. The spiced powder waits in its clay bowl, and the newly shaped jars dry under the sycamore's shade. The Nile's soft hum weaves through the village, mingling with the clatter of a neighbor's loom and the distant laughter of children. Before you, a clay pot simmers over a crackling fire, its contents lentils, onions, and your sacred saffron cumin blend, releasing curls of steam that dance in the fading light. In this new kingdom village, where every meal is a ritual, stirring this pot is no mere task. It's a weaving of stories and spells, each stir a prayer to cradle your children in divine safety. You breathe deeply, letting the fire's warmth fill your chest, and dip a wooden spoon into the pot, your movements a quiet lullaby. The lentils, traded from fields near Memphis, are small and earthy, their reddish hue glowing in the pot like tiny embers. You recall the market woman who sold them, her hands weathered as she shared a tale of Sobek, the crocodile god, guarding the harvest. In Deir el-Medina, lentils are a staple, as archaeologists have found in storage jars alongside bread and beer, nourishing artisans who carve pharaohs' tombs. You stir gently, the spoon gliding through the thick broth, and the steam rises, carrying the spice's sharp, sweet scent, saffron for Sekhmet's strength, cumin for protection. The fire crackles, its flames licking the pot's base, and you feel the rhythm of the village in your movements, steady as the Nile's flow. You smile, thinking even the gods must lean close to this scent, their divine noses twitching at the promise of your lentils. The act is a dance, each stir blending the morning's magic with the afternoon's hopes. You begin to hum, your voice soft as the breeze that stirs the palm fronds outside. O Isis, mother of all, wrap my children in your wings. Let this meal guard their dreams. You whisper, the words a spell your aunt taught you, her voice echoing in yours as she stirred pots in this very kitchen. Isis, revered in Deir el-Medina for her nurturing power, is honored in household prayers, as ostraca pottery shards reveal. Etched with pleas for children's safety, you imagine her radiant presence, her wings of light enfolding your daughter, weaving in the courtyard, and your son sketching hieroglyphs in the dust. You chuckle quietly, picturing Isis pausing to taste your lentils, her divine smile warming the firelit room. The steam swirls higher, carrying your story's tales of Horus's battles, of the Nile's first flood, woven with spells to shield your children from the desert's unseen shadows. The kitchen is a sanctuary of light and sound. A clay lamp flickers on the limestone table, its flame casting shadows that sway like temple dancers, while the turquoise scarab amulet above the door glints in the firelight. A constant guardian through your day's rituals. In the New Kingdom, lentils were cooked with spells, as medical papyri like the Eber's papyrus note, their nourishment believed to carry divine strength. You add a chopped onion, its sharp tang mingling with the spices, and stir faster, the broth thickening into a hearty stew. You recall your mother's stories, told over this same hearth, of Thoth teaching humans to write, her voice lulling you to sleep. Tonight's feast will carry these tales, your lentils joining the bread, beer, and jars to bind your neighbors in faith and joy. You glance at the Nile through the open door, its surface glowing under the setting sun, and feel the village's pulse women singing, men returning from the tombs. The river's endless song. You pause to taste the broth, the spoon warm against your lips, and nod. The spice's magic is strong, the lentils soft and rich. You set the spoon down, its handle carved with a lotus, and sprinkle in a pinch of salt, a purifying touch from the western desert's oases. The fire's glow paints your hands, and you imagine your children eating this meal, their dreams guarded by Isis's light. You recall a festival last moon when the village shared lentils under the stars, the priest's chants echoing as children laughed. Tonight's rooftop feast will weave that same spirit. Your pot a vessel for community and divine favor. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your work is a step toward that moment, a thread in Deir el-Medina's sacred tapestry. The steam curls around you, as if carrying your stories to the gods, and you sense Isis's presence, warm and steady, approving your craft. The sun sinks lower, the kitchen growing dimmer, and you cover the pot with a clay lid, its surface etched with an ankh, sealing the lentils' magic. You step to the doorway, your dress brushing the earth floor, and listen to the village's heartbeat, a child's giggle, a donkey's bray, the Nile's whisper. The pot simmers, its steam a quiet song, and you know the meal is taking shape. Bread, beer, lentils, jars all leading to the feast that will unite your community. You breathe deeply, the scent of lentils and fire filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the women who stirred pots before you, their stories echoing in yours. A moth flutters near the lamp, its wings a flicker of silver, and you smile, thinking it's a sign from Isis. A whisper of thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you are ready for the next task, guided by the gods and the village's eternal light. The sun dips low over Deir el-Medina, painting the sky with streaks of amber and rose as you step from your kitchen into the village's bustling heart. The air is warm, scented with the fading fire of your lentil pot, now simmering gently, and the lingering sweetness of the honey you offered Anubis at noon. The loaf you baked rests on its mat, the beer bubbles in its vat, the spiced powder sits in its bowl, and the clay jars dry under the sycamore's shade. The Nile's soft hum weaves through the village, mingling with the clink of tools and the chatter of artisans returning from the tombs. You carry a woven basket, its reeds braided by your daughter, and walk toward the market, your sandals brushing the packed earth. The bazaar glows in the twilight, its stalls alive with colors emerald leeks, golden dates, crimson pomegranates. In this new kingdom village, where every trade is a ritual, you seek leeks and garlic to complete your feast. Sensing the quiet blessings traders tuck into each bundle, you breathe deeply, letting the market's pulse fill your chest, and step into the vibrant throng, your heart a quiet prayer. The market is a tapestry of sound and scent, its narrow paths crowded with villagers bartering for the day's needs. A woman offers baskets of barley, her voice bright as she haggles with a potter. A child darts past, clutching a fig, his laughter like a bell. You pause at a stall piled high with leeks, their green stalks gleaming in the fading light, and garlic bulbs, their papery skins rustling in the breeze. The trader, an older woman with eyes like polished jet, nods warmly, her hands deft as she ties a bundle from fields blessed by Sobek, she says, her smile hinting at a secret. In DEIR el-MEDINA, markets thrive on such exchanges, as archaeological finds reveal ostraca listing trades of vegetables for bread or labor, a currency of trust. You inhale the leek's sharp tang, feeling their earthiness, and know they'll deepen the lentils' magic, their scent a ward against the desert's shadows. You smile, thinking even Sobek, the crocodile god, must grin at such fine leeks, his scaly tail swaying. You offer a small clay jar of your husband's carved beads, their turquoise glinting like the Nile, and the trader accepts, her fingers brushing yours as she hands you the leeks. You sense a blessing in her touch, a quiet spell woven into the bundle, a practice common in New Kingdom markets, where traders whispered charms to ensure goodwill. You murmur a prayer, your voice lost in the market's hum. O Osiris, Lord of renewal, let these greens bring life to my feast. You whisper, the words a chant your neighbor taught you, her stall always fragrant with herbs. Osiris, revered in DEIR el-MEDINA for his promise of rebirth, is honored in daily trades, his name etched on market amulets. As excavations show, you imagine his green-skinned presence, his gaze steady, and chuckle softly, picturing Osiris pausing to sniff your leeks, his divine heart warmed by their freshness. The act feels sacred, each vegetable a thread in the feast's magic, binding your family to the gods. The bazaar pulses around you, its stalls lit by flickering oil lamps, their flames casting shadows that dance like temple priests. A vendor offers honeyed cakes, their sweetness mingling with the scent of myrrh from a nearby shrine. The turquoise scarab amulet, tucked in your basket, brushes your fingers, a constant guardian through your day's rituals. From the dawn need to the lentil pot's steam, in the New Kingdom, leeks and garlic were prized as medical papyri like the Eber's papyrus note, used to flavor meals and repel malevolent spirits. You move to another stall where a young man offers garlic, its bulbs plump and fragrant. You trade a loaf from last week's baking, its crust still firm, and he grins, slipping a tiny ankh-shaped charm into the bundle for protection, he says, his voice low, and you feel the weight of his blessing, as real as the garlic's earthy warmth. You pause to gaze at the market's heart, where a musician plays a reed flute, its notes rising like the Nile's song. Villagers gather, their faces glowing in the lamplight, and you feel the community's pulse, artisans, weavers, children, all bound by shared rituals. You recall a market last month when the village traded for festival foods, the priest's chants echoing as stars rose. Tonight's feast will carry that spirit. Your lentils, bread, beer, and now leeks and garlic uniting neighbors under the heavens. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your basket holds not just food, but magic, a step toward that sacred moment. The garlic's scent grounds you, tethering you to the women who bartered here before you, their hands leaving faint blessings in the air. You glance at the Nile, its surface reflecting the twilight, and sense Osiris's presence, steady and green, approving your trade. The sun is set now, the market growing dimmer, and you turn homeward, your basket heavy with leeks and garlic, their scents mingling with the evening's coolness. The village settles into dusk, lamps glowing in doorways, a mother's lullaby drifting on the breeze. Your kitchen waits, the lentil pot simmering, the jars ready to hold your feast's offerings. You imagine the meal taking shape, golden bread, joyful beer, spiced lentils, now enriched with the bazaar's charms, all leading to the rooftop gathering where stories will flow like the Nile. You breathe deeply, the scent of leeks and twilight filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the countless hands that have traded before you. A firefly flickers near a stall, its light a tiny star, and you smile, thinking it's a sign from Osiris, a whisper of thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you are ready for the next task, guided by the gods and the village's eternal light, continuing the cohesive narrative for bread, beer, and magic, the enchanted kitchens of ancient Egypt. I'll expand Section 8 Rooftop Feast of Stars into a 200, 500 word narrative. This section builds on the previous ones, where you kneaded dough at dawn, Section 1, brewed beer under the stars. Section 2, ground spices in the late morning, Section 3, offered bread and honey to Anubis at noon, Section 4, shaped clay jars in the early afternoon, Section 5, stirred lentils in the late afternoon, Section 6, and gathered leeks and garlic at the market in the early evening, Section 7, in your DEIR El-MEDINA kitchen during the New Kingdom circa 1300 BCE, now, under the night sky. You share your sacred meal bread, beer, spiced lentils, leeks, and garlic with neighbors on a rooftop. Your community's songs tying the night to the gods' eternal embrace, advancing the story of preparing and presenting a communal feast. The script maintains the soothing, poetic tone, incorporating historical context. I8G, communal dining, New Kingdom social practices, vivid imagery, starlit rooftop, steaming bowls, and gentle humor. It ensures continuity, avoids repetition, grounds mystical elements in cultural reality, and addresses the original document's weaknesses by providing specific details, minimizing dramatization, and enhancing factual depth. Section 8 Rooftop Feast of Stars. The night has draped DEIR El-MEDINA in a velvet cloak, its stars shimmering like scattered jewels above your mud brick home. You climb a narrow staircase to the rooftop, your arms laden with the fruits of your day's labor, a basket of golden loaves, a clay jar of bubbling beer, a steaming pot of lentils scented with saffron and cumin, and bundles of leeks and garlic from the market's twilight trade. The kitchen below hums, with the day's lingering warmth, where the altar to Anubis glows faintly. The spice bowl rests, and the sycamore shaded jars stand ready. The Nile's soft song weaves through the village, blending with the murmur of neighbors gathering, their voices bright with anticipation. The rooftop is a haven of woven mats and flickering oil lamps, their flames casting shadows that dance like spirits. In this new kingdom village, where every gathering is a ritual, you share your sacred meal under the stars, your community's laughter and songs tying the night to the gods' eternal embrace. You breathe deeply, letting the cool night air fill your chest, and set the feast before your neighbors, your heart a quiet prayer. The mats are spread in a circle, their reeds woven with patterns of lotus and ankh, and your neighbors settle around them, artisans with calloused hands, weavers with nimble fingers, children with eyes wide as the moon. You place the loaves at the center, their spiral marks glowing in the lamplight, each one carrying the dawn's spell to Bastet. The beer, blessed by Hathor's chant, fills clay cups, its frothy surface catching starlight, while the lentil pot, rich with Sekhmet's spices and Osiris's leeks, steams gently, its aroma drawing sighs of delight. In Deir el-Medina, communal feasts are common, as archaeological finds of shared ovens and market records suggest, binding the village through food and faith. You break a loaf, its crust crackling, and pass it to your friend, a sculptor, who grins, saying it's finer than the Pharaoh's bread. You smile, thinking even Ra, gazing from his solar boat, must pause to savor this feast, his divine warmth lingering in the night. You pour beer for your neighbor, a weaver, her hands still dusted with flax, and she raises her cup, her voice soft as she sings. O Hathor, Lady of Joy, bless this night with love. The song rises, joined by others, a melody older than the cliffs, echoing prayers found on Deir el-Medina's ostraca, where villagers thanked gods for abundance. You imagine Hathor's golden laughter, her presence weaving through the rooftop, and chuckle quietly, picturing her dancing among the stars, her divine feet tapping to the tune. The lentils are ladled into bowls, their warmth mingling with the leek's sharp tang and garlic's earthy bite. Each spoonful a charm against the desert's shadows. You taste the stew, its spices blooming on your tongue, and feel the day's magic dawns knead. Starlit brew, mark its blessings uniting in this moment, a testament to your kitchen's sacred craft. The rooftop hums with life. The lamps glow, painting your neighbor's faces, your daughter, giggling as she shares bread with a friend, your son, sketching stars in the dust, your husband, his eyes soft as he recounts a day in the tombs, the turquoise scarab amulet, now tucked in your basket, brushes your fingers, a constant guardian through your day's rituals, from the morning's spices to the market's trade. In the New Kingdom, such feasts were sacred, as papyrus records describe villagers gathering to honor gods like Hathor and Osiris, their meals sealing bonds of kinship. You pass a bowl to an elder, her stories of past floods weaving through the night, and feel the village's pulse laughter, songs, the Nile's endless hum, the leeks, blessed by Sobek, add a crisp brightness to the lentils, their magic grounding you to the fields where they grew, a gift of the river's grace. You pause to gaze at the stars, their light a tapestry of myths, Orion as Osiris, Sirius as Isis, guiding souls through the duat. A child asks about the stars, and you share a tale of Thoth, the ibis-headed god mapping the heavens, your voice lulling the rooftop into quiet awe. You recall a festival last season when the village feasted under these same stars, the priest's chants echoing as beer flowed. Tonight's meal carries that spirit. Your bread, beer, and lentils uniting neighbors in a prayer as old as the pyramids. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your feast is a thread in dear El Medina's sacred tapestry. Each dish, a charm that binds the living to the divine. The beer's tang lingers on your lips, and you sense Hathor's joy, her warmth wrapping the rooftop like a shawl, approving your offering. The night deepens, the lamps flickering as the songs soften, and you lean back on the mat, the coolness of the rooftop grounding you. The bowls are nearly empty, the bread reduced to crumbs, and the beer jars rest, their magic shared in every sip. You listen to the village settling a mother's lullaby, a dog's bark, the Nile's whisper, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the countless feasts that have lit this rooftop before. The stars wheel overhead, and you imagine your meal's magic rising to them, a gift to the gods who watch. You breathe deeply, the scent of lentils and starlight filling your chest, and know the feast has woven your community tighter, its bonds as strong as the stone beneath your feet. A shooting star streaks across the sky, its light a flicker of Hathor's laughter, and you smile, thinking it's a sign of her thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you are ready for the next task, guided by the gods and the village's eternal light. The midnight sky arches over Deir el-Medina like a silent hymn, its stars pulsing faintly as the village sleeps under the moon's silver glow. You stand in your courtyard, the air cool and crisp, scented with the lingering warmth of the rooftop feast, crumbs of bread, empty beer cups, and bowls scraped clean of lentils. The kitchen behind you is still, its altar to Anubis shadowed, the spice bowl resting, the clay jars filled with leftovers for tomorrow, and the market's leeks tucked away. The Nile's soft whisper weaves through the silence, joined by the faint rustle of palm fronds and a distant owl's call. Before you glows a clay oven, its dome blackened by years of use, its embers casting a warm, flickering light in your hands. You hold a mound of dough, kneaded earlier with emmer wheat and Nile water, its surface smooth and cool. In this new kingdom village, where every loaf is a prayer, you tend the oven at midnight, your whispered chants ensuring tomorrow's bread carries the strength of Ra's rising sun. You breathe deeply, letting the night's stillness fill your chest, and open the oven's mouth, your movements a quiet offering. The oven's heat washes over you, its embers pulsing like tiny suns, and you slide the dough onto a flat stone inside, its surface dusted with ash from countless loaves. You recall your grandmother tending this oven, her hands steady as she taught you to time the bake by the star's arc, her stories of Ra's journey filling the night. In Deir el-Medina, nighttime baking is common, as archaeological finds of ovens and bread molds reveal, ensuring fresh loaves for artisans heading to the tombs at dawn. The dough begins to rise, its surface catching the fire's glow, and you feel the rhythm of the village in your task. Steady as the Nile's flow, you sprinkle a pinch of salt over the dough, a purifying touch from the desert oases, and smile, thinking even Ra must anticipate this bread, his divine warmth kindled by its scent. The act is a ritual, each moment weaving the day's magic dawn's need, starlit brew, rooftop songs into tomorrow's promise. You murmur a prayer, your voice soft as the moonlight that bathes the courtyard. O Ra, Lord of light, let this bread bring strength to my kin, let it shine through the dawn. You whisper the words a chant your mother sang, her voice echoing in yours as she baked under these same stars. Ra, revered in DEIR el-MEDINA for his daily rebirth, is honored in household rituals, his image painted on kitchen walls. As excavations show, you imagine his golden presence, his rays touching the dough, and chuckle quietly, picturing Ra pausing to warm his hands by your oven, his divine smile brightening the night. The bread swells, its crust turning golden, and you sense its magic, a charm to carry your family through the day, your daughter's weaving, your son's sketches, your husband's chiseling in the Valley of the Kings. The oven's glow wraps you, as if the sun itself lingers here, approving your craft. The courtyard is a sanctuary of shadow and light. A clay lamp flickers on the altar, its flame small but steady, while the sycamore tree's leaves rustle faintly, guarding the jars you shaped. The turquoise scarab amulet, now hanging above the oven, glints in the firelight, a constant thread through your day's rituals, from the market's trade to the rooftop feast. In the New Kingdom, bread was vital, as papyrus records describe villagers baking daily to feed workers and gods, their loaves often marked with solar symbols. Like the spiral on your dawn loaf, you adjust the embers with a stick, their sparks rising like tiny stars, and add a dried palm frond to the fire, its crackle a soft song. You recall a midnight last month when you baked for a festival, the village waking to the scent of fresh bread. Tomorrow's loaves will carry that spirit, joining the cycle of feasts and offerings that bind DEIR el-MEDINA's heart. You pause to gaze at the sky, the moon a crescent mirror for the gods, its light softening the courtyard's edges. The bread's aroma fills the air, warm and earthy, and you feel the village's pulse, sleeping children, dreaming artisans, the Nile's endless hum. You imagine the loaves at dawn, shared with neighbors or placed before Ra's shrine, their strength fueling the day's work. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your midnight task is a thread in the village's sacred tapestry, each loaf a charm that ties the living to the divine. The oven's heat is a comfort, tethering you to the women who baked here before you, their hands leaving faint warmth in the clay. You glance at the Nile, its surface reflecting the stars, and sense Ra's presence, steady and radiant, guiding your work. The bread is nearly ready, its crust crisp, its heart soft, a perfect vessel for the sun's light. The night grows deeper, the stars brighter, and you slide the loaf from the oven, its warmth cradling your hands. You set it on a reed mat, its glow like a small sun, and prepare another mound, your fingers swift in the moonlight. The village sleeps, but your courtyard is alive, the oven's embers singing their own quiet hymn. You imagine tomorrow's meal, fresh bread, leftover lentils, a sip of Hathor's beer, all building on tonight's feast. A cycle of nourishment and prayer. You breathe deeply, the scent of bread and embers filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, tying you to the countless hands that have baked before you. A bat flutters overhead, its wings a whisper of shadow, and you smile, thinking it's a sign from Ra, a flicker of thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you are ready for the final task, guided by the gods and the village's eternal light. The deep night wraps DEIR el-MEDINA in a gentle hush, its stars now faint as the moon climbs high, casting a silver veil over your courtyard. You sit by the hearth in your mud brick kitchen, the air cool and scented with the lingering warmth of the midnight bread, now cooling on a reed mat beside the oven's glowing embers, the loaf you kneaded at dawn, the beer you brewed under Hathor's gaze, the lentils spiced with Sekhmet's strength, the leeks blessed by Osiris, and the jars shaped for Khnum all have woven the day's magic, shared in the rooftop feast that still echoes in your heart. The Nile's soft whisper drifts through the village, joined by the faint creak of a neighbor's door and the distant call of a night bird. The hearth's embers pulse faintly, their red glow a quiet heartbeat in the shadowed room. In this new kingdom village, where every fire is a sacred bond, you rest by the fading flames, feeling the eternal warmth of your kitchen's rituals tying your soul to Egypt's timeless cycle. You breathe deeply, letting the stillness fill your chest, and lean closer to the hearth, your spirit a quiet offering. The embers crackle softly, their light painting the kitchen's walls with fleeting shadows, and you trace the day's journey in their glow from the dawn's need to the starlit songs of the feast. You recall your grandmother sitting here, her hands folded as she spoke of Hestia like hearths, where the gods linger in the flames. In DEIR el-MEDINA, hearths are sacred, as archaeological finds of domestic altars show. Their fires kindled daily to honor gods and ancestors. You shift on the reed mat, its fibers worn smooth by years of such moments, and feel the weight of your work, the bread that fed your neighbors, the beer that sparked laughter, the lentils that carried your prayers. The hearth's warmth is a comfort, tethering you to the women who tended these flames before you, their hands leaving faint blessings in the ash. You smile, thinking even the gods must gather by such a hearth, their divine voices softened by its glow. You murmur a final prayer, your voice barely louder than the embers whisper, O Amun, hidden one, let this hearth's light guide my family through the night. You breathe, the words a chant your mother whispered here, her presence lingering in the fire's warmth. Amun, revered in DEIR el-MEDINA as the creator god, is honored in late night rituals, his name etched on household amulets. As excavations reveal, you imagine his unseen presence, his breath stirring the embers, and chuckle quietly, picturing Amun pausing to warm his hands, his divine heart touched by your kitchen's quiet. The hearth's glow fades, but its magic remains, a charm that binds your home your daughter, sleeping with her reed dolls, your son, dreaming of hieroglyphs, your husband, resting after a day in the tombs. The fire's light carries your hopes, a promise that tomorrow's dawn will bring new rituals, new feasts, new prayers. The kitchen is a sanctuary of stillness. A clay lamp on the limestone table flickers, its flame a tiny star, while the turquoise scarab amulet above the door glints faintly, a constant guardian through your day's labors. From the market's trade to the midnight bake, in the new kingdom, hearths were centers of spiritual life, as papyrus records describe villagers offering crumbs to the flames. Seeking divine favor, you toss a pinch of dried mint into the embers, its sharp scent rising like a final offering, a practice noted in temple texts to purify the night. The act feels like a closing, your day's magic sealed in the hearth's fading light, its warmth a bridge to the gods. You glance through the open door, where the Nile reflects the moon, and feel the village's pulse sleeping homes, dreaming souls, the river's endless song. You lean back, your hands resting on the cool earth floor, and let the hearth's glow cradle you. The embers are nearly gone, their light a soft pulse, and you recall a night last season, when the village gathered by a communal hearth, stories flowing like the Nile. Tonight's feast was a thread in that tapestry, your meal uniting neighbors in joy and faith, its magic now settling into the night. You feel a quiet pride, knowing your kitchen, its dough, spices, jars, and flames has woven a day of sacred acts, each one a charm against the desert's shadows. The hearth's warmth lingers on your skin, as if Amun himself wraps you in his light, approving your work. You imagine tomorrow new loaves, fresh beer, another market trade, all building on this cycle, a rhythm as eternal as the stars. The night grows deeper, the moon higher, and you rise, brushing ash from your dress. The hearth is a faint glow now, its embers a whisper of the day's fire, but its magic endures, tying your soul to Egypt's sacred heart. You step to the doorway, the cool air brushing your face, and gaze at the Nile, its surface a mirror for the gods. The village sleeps, but your kitchen remains alive, its rituals a song that echoes through time. You breathe deeply, the scent of mint and embers filling your chest, and feel the sacred weight of this moment, binding you to the countless hands that have tended this hearth before you. A firefly dances near the oven, its light a tiny blessing, and you smile, thinking it's a sign from a moon, a whisper of thanks. The Nile sings softly, and you rest in the eternal embrace of your kitchen's fading flame. As the hearth's embers fade into the night, you feel a gentle peace settle over you, like the Nile's soft ripples lapping at the shore. The day's rituals, kneading dough, brewing beer, grinding spices, offering honey, shaping jars, stirring lentils, trading in the market, feasting under stars, baking at midnight, and resting by the fire have woven a tapestry of magic, binding your heart to Deir el-Medina's timeless rhythm. Each act, small yet sacred, carried your love for your family, your neighbors, and the gods, their presence as real as the warmth on your skin. In this quiet moment, you sense the eternal cycle of ancient Egypt, where every meal is a prayer, every fire a promise of renewal. Let the village's stillness cradle you, its stars, a reminder that your soul, too, is part of this sacred dance. Feel the strength of those who cooked before you, their hands guiding yours, their whispers soft in the night. You are not alone. The Nile sings for you, the gods watch over you, and your kitchen's magic endures. A light against the dark. Rest now, knowing your heart is woven into this eternal story, your dreams as boundless as the desert sky. Please, drift into sleep with this peace, carrying the warmth of the hearth into your dreams. Good night.